In just a few short days' time, humanity will make its return to the moon. The Artemis II mission will send 4 astronauts up into space to orbit the Earth and then shoot themselves towards the moon, where they will orbit the moon and test various functions on their spaceship before ultimately returning back to Earth to complete their 10-day mission. There are really 2 sides to the public reaction to this mission. We already went like 80 years ago in the 60s. Why do we need to go again? Or some people will say that we didn't actually go to the moon, but those people are wrong. And then other people are 100% for it, full steam ahead. Well, to the people that say that we've already been in the 60s, I want to explain to you why it's taken so long for us to get back to the moon and what NASA and other space agencies are planning to do to further space exploration using Artemis as a base. The Apollo missions that made history by putting the first astronauts on the moon, being Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, were funded by government taxpayer money, and it was funded so much more than it is today. Back in the 60s during the Cold War, the government was so concerned with the Soviet Union winning the space race that they put 5% of the federal budget towards NASA and space exploration. Today, NASA only gets half of a single percentage point of the entire federal budget. That is a significant loss, but that's not the only reason. Apollo was a full sprint to the moon. It wasn't designed for much sustainability because all we wanted to do was beat the Soviets. And America did win. They were the first to the moon. They won. All done. But today's generation has a new space race to look forward to. Mars, and I'll get to that in a second. What Artemis II is doing is testing out the capabilities of the SLS, or the Space Launch System, which is the big rocket that they're going to use to actually get into orbit, and then the Orion capsule, which they're going to stay in for the majority of their mission. They're going to test things like life support, navigation systems, everything you need to successfully go to the moon and come back without dying. If all that goes well, in about 2 to 3 years' time, Artemis III will be sending astronauts to the moon for the first time since the 70s. Because Artemis II isn't landing on the moon. They're just orbiting and testing equipment. Artemis III will actually be the astronaut crew that gets to land and walk on the moon for the first time in 50 years. Artemis III will also bring over the start of a permanent moon base on the moon, so humanity can have a permanent presence on another body in space besides Earth. This is a significant step in humanity's space exploration. We haven't even scratched the surface when it comes to space exploration. We've sent unmanned probes to a bunch of stuff in our solar system, but we haven't even landed a human on Mars yet. And the Artemis missions are setting up the foundations for that to one day be a reality. This full-time moon base will serve as a launch pad for the first humans to go to Mars in the late 2030s. Humans will go up to the moon base and then either orbit around it and use the moon as a slingshot all the way to Mars, or just land directly on it, refuel, and then take off from the moon there. But either way, this is a critical step in setting up infrastructure to furthering humanity's space exploration journey in our own solar system. But things can get pretty nasty if this fails. If God forbid anything bad were to happen to the crew of Artemis II during their mission, that would push back Artemis III years, meaning that NASA would lose even more of the federal budget, and the United States would fall behind in the space race to Mars, either to private space companies or other nations' space agencies. At the time of recording this, Artemis II has not launched yet, so hopefully everything goes okay. If it does go to plan, I will most likely be posting a follow-up video explaining the success of the mission, so if you want to see that, click subscribe. But the real fun stuff comes after Artemis III. After humanity returns to the moon, this sets up maybe the first commercial moon visits. There's already companies out there that are promising insane stuff like an inflatable moon hotel that you can go and stay in for obscene amounts of money. In theory, you should be able to pay for a ticket to the moon and back, meaning you can go and walk on the moon in the same way that Neil Armstrong did back in Apollo 11. With that all being said, Artemis II is a significant step in humanity's space exploration journey, and if all goes to plan, this will lay the infrastructure and the groundwork to eventually send the first ever humans to planet Mars.